Good morning, everyone. If you're here live with me, of course, in the morning on Monday. If not, then hey, good whatever time of day it is that you watch this video. So for many of you guys, you know I was going to be doing a video last week on the school reopening. I had got a bunch of data, got a bunch of links to research studies. I had printed a bunch of things, was going to kind of walk through all sorts of stuff. Then I held back and I thought, what would be really cool would be if we just got a little further along with local policy somewhere supporting some of what I was looking at that was mostly international, and then we got it. And of course, there's the update from the CDC is it, and I don't even know how I missed it because it came out like the 23rd, they updated it, and I didn't see it till yesterday, or I guess the day before. I heard about it, but saw it yesterday. So my page elsewhere. So the whole idea here was just the discussion of should kids go back to school. And, up front, you guys know my opinion on this. The opinion is, of course they should. The data suggests there's an extremely low risk to kids. But now the newer data, well, not even that new, it's been coming out for a couple months now, coming from these countries in Europe who put their kids right back into school in May. So they have a little bit more time on this. They've been able to put some research out and actually publish some studies, get some peer-reviewed going. And, it's been extremely positive. So what's being a guy spouting it and other people spouting it, the CDC changed their position pretty significantly. So get your kids back to school. The risk to kids, we know what the risk for kids not going to school is. And then they did a comparison. And I like the comparison because it really helps you guys put this in perspective from a standpoint of your kids. Now, to those of you who are out there who are going to continue to say, yeah, but we don't know enough about this virus. What about the latent effects? What about the permanent sequela? As is, something Dr. Levi had mentioned in one of these posts here. That tends to be where people have fear, right? The permanent sequela, meaning the leftover condition of the rest of my life, like polio. I'm limping for the rest of my life because I've lost, some neurological function, right? That's the concern that, there's something going on with this. But again, I'm looking at this like, it's a coronavirus, so it's going to have a very similar latent effect to what we already know. That's just, what we would expect. I mean, could there be some additional? Yeah, but right now we're already seeing the kids. That's insignificant, if anything. So now, with that real quick, how long does it take you to get over the flu? Some people a week, some people 2 days. Some people have latent effects for a month or 2 months. Weakness, fatigue, little gentle cough still, or maybe an excessive cough. But there's latent effect that still is overcome eventually in the flu in many cases. So COVID-19 in children from the CDC. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of summarize some of this stuff. The best available evidence indicates that COVID-19 poses relatively low risk to school-aged children. They appear to be at a lower risk for contracting COVID-19 compared to adults, so harder for them to contract, right? Also, I will say that some of the research that came out of Europe, if we look it up specifically, will tell us that in some cases, it looks like they can't even pass it. So harder to contract, but not even like sloughing off virus in a way that causes parent or teacher to have a chance to even get it. Which, if that can continue, we can do more and more research on that. I mean, obviously, it's extremely low for even a study to suggest that. So as more research comes, and if we see that they really don't pass that, oh my gosh, just get them into school, people. So as of July 17th, 2020, United States reported that children and adolescents under 18 years old account for under 7% of the cases. So they don't get it that much. Now, they might get it more, but are so asymptomatic that we just don't test them, right? And that's what I would hope, because ultimately the asymptomatic, lifespan of this, walking through this virus asymptomatically, provides immunity. And I'd rather be immune today than, fighting it tomorrow. So chickenpox parties of old school, done because you're better off having immunity now than getting this as an adult. That's the same idea here. It makes sense. I mean, obviously, right, if you age stratify the risk, why would you not want this young to just be, okay, that's behind me, right? And then you could say, oh, immunity doesn't last. You didn't see the other thing I posted where the researchers pulled blood from a blood bank, taking blood before this ever started. They pulled blood from a blood bank, and that blood demonstrated T-cell immunity. Don't tell me there's not lasting immunity. Maybe neutralizing antibodies are going to drop really low, like they're supposed to the point where you could have some amount of symptomatic response again in the future, but the T-cell won't. So there you go. The T-cell response is there. All right, lovely. And less than 0.1% of COVID-19 related deaths. This is for the 18 and under school-age children. So again, under 0.1% of all COVID-19 deaths. 0.1% of all the deaths, 0.1% under that of 18 and under children. So it's an extremely low risk. And you might say, but it's still a risk, Eric. Every life matters. I agree. I don't know why you think I don't agree. I just don't agree that you can somehow control that. No matter what you do, you can't control that. Keep them out of school. Guess what? They've been out of school and the deaths have happened, but at extremely low rate. So this is not something that you can control. And this comparison is what you need to listen to and absorb to understand that. From 2004 to 2005, 2018 to 2019, so basically from 2004 all the way up to 19, flu-related deaths in children reported to CDC during regular flu seasons ranged from, so all the way from 2004, the lowest in any one of those seasons was 37, the highest in any season to 187 deaths, except during the H1N1 pandemic. And this is, you've heard me talk a lot about this in 2009. And schools got shut down early across California because of H1N1. It was end of the year that came on. So from April 15th to October 2nd, so we're not talking about being in school very much in that time. 358 pediatric deaths were reported to CDC. So in that window from April to October, school was out for most of it. That's how many deaths, H1N1 related deaths in pediatrics, 18 and under. So far in this pandemic, some deaths of children are less than in each of the last 5 flu seasons. So we know typically people fear a pandemic or fear a virus more than anything if the kids are at risk. That's the number one reason why people fear. It's the kids. With only 64 reported in this pandemic. This was updated July 17th is their data. July 23rd, they updated the article online. July 17th is the data. 64 pediatric deaths. That's less than all of the last 5 flu seasons and significantly less than the 358 H1N1. I am telling you, your kids belong in school. The data says they're not passing it to adults. The data says this. Not the model, the data. Data doesn't lie. Models lie. People crunching data can lie if there's capacity to do that. This is looking at 100% of cases. No one's going off and saying, well, let's just look at the kids who lived in high atmosphere and see what their numbers were. Oh, let's publish that study. No, it's all the data, all of the data. So scientific studies suggest, this is CDC's website still, that COVID-19 transmission among children in schools may be low. International studies that have assessed how readily COVID-19 spreads in schools also reveal low rates of transmission when community transmission is low. Based on current data, the rate of infection among younger school children from students to teachers has been low, especially if proper precautions are followed. So that's the question. Proper precautions, you look at that, just follow the European precautions. And those precautions are not as stringent as what we've been seeing in our own. So that's significant as well. There have also been few reports of children being the primary source of COVID-19 transmission among family members. So you saw early on reports, I talked about it, of in-family transmission only being 10% in the same home. It's because of the kids. The kids are the block. If you go back and check and start looking at this data closely, you start seeing it's when it hits the adult, transmission increases. If it stays in a kid, it stays in a kid. It's pretty awesome stuff, guys. There have also been few reports of children being the primary source. Oh, I just said that, sorry. This is consistent with the data from both virus and antibody testing, suggesting that children are not the primary drivers of COVID-19 spread in schools or in the community. And they have the references to the studies here, by the way. So just go to the website. You got 3 studies. You got 3 more. 6, 7, and 8 are the first 3 references. This is on transmission among family members. And then in the community or in schools is 9, 10, and 11. So you got 6 total studies that are referenced here that are great. No studies are conclusive. Of course not. That's why we don't trust a randomized clinical trial for all of our information by any stretch. What we do, just so you know, the way I am with the RCT, this is how I look at it. I think it's ridiculous just to throw that out. I'm sorry, you know, one person I know, that's what you do all the time. What you do is you follow a chain of knowledgeable thought, intelligible thought. And that chain of thought is based upon both understanding of how the world works and observation. And so you apply your observation against accepted science to then come up with some form of theses and then set out to disprove your theses in research. Some of the research that we're seeing that's thrown out like crazy, it is so isolated as an island, an island, an island, an island, that it actually has no value in that channel of building off of knowledge that we have, utilizing that knowledge, and then combining that with observation to come to conclusion theses that we would then try to prove wrong. So that's important to get. So no studies are conclusive, but the available evidence provides reason to believe that in-person schooling is in the best interest of students, particularly in the context of appropriate mitigation measures similar to those implemented at essential workplaces. So, and if you go back, this is the COVID-19 in children headline. There are headlines above that. One that I really do like that the CDC mentions is, you know, we don't really know exactly what the result of kids going to school is, other than we know that it's extremely low concerns here. But what we do know, pretty exacting, is how bad it is for kids not to be in school. All right, do I trust the CDC? I don't trust the CDC. I can't stand the CDC. I think every director we've ever had has been so focused on the furthering of their career, you know, post-directorate position. I can't trust him at all. Why do I trust this? It's not them. They're just reporting out to the world the data. Thank you, CDC, for doing something right for once. Love you guys. I know I might be argumentative. I stand for something strongly, and therefore I feel emotionally charged by this. Love you.